bad things are happening. Cybersecurity, stuff like that. I need to show you why, and then we'll talk a little bit more about AI. Right. So, when I first started talking about cybercrime, 2014, it was like important but not big news. But in about 2016, the value to the bad guys of cybercrime, $450 billion a year, was exceeded, not cybercrime, so in 2016, the amount of money bad guys made from dealing drugs turned out to be just a little bit less than them doing cybercrime. Cybercrime just peaked over the top. $450 billion a year, you can buy 50 of these. There's only 50 odd in the world for aircraft carriers. Okay? So that was then. Now, or last year, it got to $6 trillion. 620 of these, you get 85,000 jet fighters. I'm not sure where you park 620 of those, okay? $6 trillion a year. If you looked at it as GDP, $6 trillion gets you third place. You would be the third largest country in the world by GDP, okay? Money makes people interested. And suddenly, it's a big thing. But it's more than money, right? This is the bad thing. So money is bad enough. What's also happening is that these attacks are changing, and we're moving away from the traditional sort of cybercrime, when they're trying to steal your identity for gain, to trying to get into your systems, right? What's happened in the last couple of years is the realization that you can use all the weapons the bad guys use to steal from you to, in fact, control your systems. So they can be weaponized. And so what you see now is so much of the targets moving from just being about stealing money and stealing data to getting in to compromise your systems, right? Now that was always sort of expected as part of a real war, and that is certainly happening as part of the real wars that are going on. But what we're also seeing is that this is more than just happening as part of a war. What we're seeing is this is now becoming everyday life, right? Because nation states have realized, well, two things. One is this stuff means that they can influence another country. And the other thing is they realize they can be influenced, right? Both of these are happening. But the idea is not to just steal your data. It's about changing the shipping labels when you ship stuff. It's about fake news. It's about crashing your telephone systems. It's about making the traffic lights all go red. And these things happen. These things are happening, right? Because they want to do that. They want to take all these systems and they want to influence them and they want to use them to affect your economy. So suddenly, 2 years, people are realizing just how dangerous cybercrime is as a weapon for one state to use against somebody else, and it's stopped being something, so it's now going to be low-grade warfare. This is real life. If you've read any of the sci-fi books that have had these things about corporations attacking each other, way past that. This is nation states realizing that they are vulnerable, but also it's an opportunity. And why wait for a war when you can make bad things happen to somebody else's economy? And this is real life, right? And because of that, we as human beings, what we do is different from, we are different targets. It used to be that as an individual you were less likely to be targeted, but now as an individual there are circumstances where you could be much more targeted, right? Because you're more valuable, because of this, right? So it's about you. A lot of this starts with figuring out who you are and influencing you. And as developers, the world, we're not very good at this. Right, so Wi-Fi, right? Wherever you go in the world, there's Wi-Fi. How many people here are connected to the Wi-Fi? I am. Anybody got VPN? I have, right? We're really good at doing this, right? We're really good at just connecting to random Wi-Fi, right? How do you know that Wi-Fi? Oh, that's interesting. That's come out weird. Right. How do you know when you're connecting to a gateway that that gateway is the one you expected, right? Because all you've got is a name. So it's quite feasible that there's a little box stuck to the wall, and I used to do this, but I got told off, that you can have a little thing, and I can run, this is an old picture of a Raspberry Pi Zero, USB, piece of power, well not USB, that's Wi-Fi. I can easily force you, because the Wi-Fi protocol allows me, to force you to connect to my connection, right? So all your traffic goes through me, right? It's easy. You know the TV story I was telling you? Wi-Fi is just a wonderful mechanism for people to get into your systems, right, for you to connect to, because you don't pay attention. You just use this stuff, right? You're not very observant, right? So, anybody got one of these? This is an Apple USB charger. Yeah, okay, all right, okay. So I've got several of these, okay? Luckily, mine doesn't have one of these in it. This is a GSM chip. This is the system on a chip that does all the hard work on your phone. That is, see the fingers, that's how big the guts is of a phone in terms of doing the phone. There were a spate of these things turning up with one of these in. And what happens with this? You cherish it. You look after it. You power it. And then you plug your phone in. Do you know the difference between a data cable and a power cable as far as a USB is concerned? Right? One's got three cables, one's got two cables. One lets you power it, one lets you have a data conversation. I bet you have no idea when you pick up a cable, unless it's one that you use to actually communicate with the device, which one it is. So you plug the wrong one in, probably a data cable, because that's easy, and now your phone connects to this device, this thing hacks you, steals all your data. When you go, anybody been to places like this and bought stuff that they plug in? Yeah. Okay, right. Well, guess what? These things are computers. So they may have these in them, but these things are turning up with sophisticated hacking devices in, right? So when you buy something from here from China, you might get one of those. Now, the thing is, it's very unlikely that you're going to get one randomly, because they don't want these things to be discovered, but it depends. There's this thing called reverse phishing, which is basically you buy something from somebody, they see who you are based on you, whatever you said on Facebook, where you work, hey, I work at a bank, right, and where this thing might get shipped to. And so you may not get a pristine device. The bad guys may send you something that's been compromised. I mean, phones or whatever, right? And so if you buy something that's specific for an iPhone, they know what you want. You buy it for an Android, they know what you want, right? It can be anything you buy online, right? The less reputable the supplier, the more chance there is that if you are the right person at the right time, you will get one of these devices, right? So I'm not suggesting that any of you are likely to have this happen to you, but this is the sort of thing that's going on. We're moving away from this being opportunity-driven to a more focused thing. It's still opportunity because you open the door, but worse things can happen to you than maybe you imagined.
IIS is a technology company that's focused in the verification space. We basically develop technology solutions around a few different kind of core areas. The main ones are brand safety, fraud, and viewability, but We have a number of other products that sort of branch off of those.
The mission behind the company, I love working towards a larger goal to help the ad ecosystem as a whole, to help fight fraud. I love the mission behind it.
IAS is in a business of trust and transparency, and I think that filters down through the day-to-day of the employees. It gets in the culture and sort of infuses the whole thing.
We're really an agnostic company that works with people on all different sides. We'll work with publishers, we also work with brands, we work with agencies, we work with DSPs, and I think as a whole, we're just trying to move the industry forward in terms of developing solutions that make us as a whole more transparent.
The people are happy, friendly, and there are like happy hours, fresh fruits that we have in the kitchen, the flowers, team building activities. So these kind of sorts of things that really appreciate.
We have offices all over the world. We have Tokyo, we have Singapore, we have Australia, we have a dozen offices in Europe.
Every day is really different here. So some days I'm training clients, some days I'm troubleshooting all sorts of issues, and because I work with all sorts of stakeholders, I never really know what to expect.
People at IAS are really great. They're young, they're forward-looking, they're super resourceful. I would say they're a great bunch of people to work with, and really I think staffing is maybe one of the strongest points of this company.
I'm most excited about the continued growth of the company. So we're really trying to scale up our R&D department, but also more broadly. So I'm interested to see the impact of that on the business and the areas that we'll continue to grow and invest in. So really excited to see where we go.
This is 2016, 2018, right? This is another example of how you don't think about this. So there was this has been around probably forever, ever since cameras were invented. But what happens is, next time you go to a hotel, look where you can sit comfortably and power your laptop. Quite often, in the wrong part of the world, and that doesn't mean you go to China, it just means you go to a place where the hotel's been compromised, you'll find that they're doing human choreography. They're making you sit in a particular place. It's the only place you can sit comfortably to power your laptop. So that's where you sit and work. And over your head is a camera, right? The USB things you plug into the wall. You know not to plug power into a USB socket. Right? You know, don't plug into the HDMI cable on the TV because bad things might happen. You have to be thinking about this stuff. We all tend to have this weird view about phishing, right? Now, I've shown these things over and over again. I've probably shown them here before, but we're all used to the emails that say, we have a bunch of money for you. You just have to send me some. Yeah? Loads of those, right? I got loads and loads and loads. And you can read the words and you go, that's not right, right? Hey, you have won a brand new 2024 model BMW Hydrogen 7 Series car, which doesn't exist, a check for $500,000 and an Apple laptop. Well, obviously Apple laptops are worth $500,000, right? But you get this stuff and you go, it's a fish, stupid.
They started with the phone too.
Yeah, well, you name it. You get all those things, right?
They phoned me that my Amazon account was compromised. They asked me my user password and the one-shot code.
Yeah. Well, so think about what happens here, right? So I got this one when I was at IBM, and there's a laptop refresh program. And the email came through, and I looked at it, and I went, that's not quite right. But this one, the people who sent it to me knew how it worked, and I almost fell for it. But actually, I checked the email address, the link, and went, no, this is fish. Right? That's what happens. They look at your behavior, they can look at you on Facebook and go, oh, you said you hate your boss, or you're frightened of your boss, because you leak out this information, you tell people, and then you get this from your boss, right? Make this happen, don't distract me. And you go, well, I know it's not probably right, but I'm frightened of my boss, so I'll just do it, right? Or you get ones that are so perfectly crafted. I love tagging busy people. So this is shipping transport thing. So this is a real life one where a bunch of people had a bunch of malware installed because they got a perfectly crafted phishing attack by people who knew their industry. Don't think these bad guys are stupid. These guys know your industry as well as you do, and they will craft things to get into your door, right? What you have to understand is that under the right circumstances, you are a perfect target. If you're in the right place at the right time, in terms of work, who you work with, who your company works with, what you said on social media, these things get used against you. And the thing that you should take away about is those phishing emails, they look, they're all funny. But they're not designed to get you, they're designed to get gullible, stupid people. If they want you, it's a much nicer, crafted email, or whatever it is, voice text. They're going to work hard to get you. Because if they need to, they're going to bring all these things out to get you. Now, let's add the best bit in, because this is what you want to hear about, the AI stuff, right? There are times when I'm going, just turn off computers. We just don't need this stuff, right? Okay. Here's an example, right? Fraudsters use AI to mimic CEO's voice, right? You get a voicemail, right? And the voicemail sounds like your boss. So you do what your boss says. Let's see if this one works, right?
Speechify has revolutionized my productivity with its custom text-to-speech voices. Partnering with Speechify allowed me to clone my own voice, making it faster than ever to create new...
Hold on, I'm missing a cable. Ah, that's why.
Sorry, I'm not good.
Let's see what happens.
Speechify has revolutionized my productivity with its custom text-to-speech voices. Partnering with Speechify allowed me to clone my own voice, making it faster than ever to create new audio, the podcast, the video...
Yeah, okay, it's not quite me, but that was a 30-second thing off the internet. 30-second, free. Easy to clone people's voices. Right? This was a great one. Multi-person video conference, and that everybody on this video conference was fake. Real-time fake. And you think about it, you're on a Zoom call, it may not be the greatest, and right, easy, right? Right. Right. Oh, come on.
The other day, I saw an article on The Verge talking about a lip sync deepfake technique that anyone could do using the Wave to Lip algorithm on GitHub. This technique uses a Google Colab notebook, and all of the computing happens in the cloud. Often,
Easy.
when I see a tutorial about deep learning
Now,
or artificial intelligence,
I'm getting
image
another person to
manipulation,
lip sync.
I get excited
So all I
and
need
want
is
to try
a
it,
Zoom
only to be
channel
foiled by its
to do that,
complexity.
right?
I usually find that I am...
Thank you. Right? 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 That was easy. And you think, okay, so let me show you something else, right? Because that was 2021. Which one is the real Tom Cruise? Which one is the real Tom Cruise?
Probably none of them.
Yeah, none of them. Deep Tom Cruise, it's a TikTok channel. There are thousands of videos, right? So how do you think this works? This one is quite old because there's a human being that has the same stature as Tom Cruise, and he does all the acting, and then they overlay the face. This guy, right, this is happening, right? This is real and not real. This guy, this one, he's got a muscle moving in his neck if you saw it, okay? You can see, right, this way, she's allowed to interact with him because he's real. They just move stuff over the top, okay? This stuff is ridiculous, right? Deep fake is really easy, right? You can have fun, make yourself into Doctor Strange. The tech available to us to do this is beyond belief now, right? And it's easy to do. So if it's easy for us to use it, it's easy for the bad guys to use it. And there's all the commercial stuff that pushes the barrier. So for all the fun stuff, there's all the nasty stuff that you've heard about, right? There's some really horrible stuff happening, right? It's becoming impossible to separate the reality by looking at images and videos, right? And so they use this as part of phishing. So your ability to separate reality from non-reality, looking at an email, maybe you're good at that. Now you've got to look at images and voice. You've got to figure out this happening, right? Because, you know, no, it's not going to work. We're not doing that.
I am not Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, I know you're not. Right, right. But that one, if you look closely, you'll go, that's not human, right? But you saw the Tom Cruise stuff. How easy is it to do? Right? I didn't bring it with me. I have one of these. It's a little device. It's called a Coral. It's a TPU. So all the GPU tech that's used in gaming, you know GPUs are being used for neural networks. Well, GPUs have more capability in them than they need to process to do neural networks. And so you can now buy, well, you've always been able to buy, but these things called TPUs. That thing there, it's about half the size of a pack of cards, costs $60, is a very powerful piece. You can use your phone to do this stuff, right? Or you can go online and buy stupidly powerful GPUs. It's very easy for these things to be created. Right? It's really easy. And then if you want to get into this business, you can get the hardware, and then you want software, you want models, or you go to a place called Hugging Face. Anybody doing Hugging Face? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're all, I'm not going to put my hand up. Right. Hugging Face. Hugging Face is the sort of Maven Central of AI. You can get models, you can get data, you can get pre-trained models, you can get non-trained, you know, loads of stuff. They're great. They're available to you. But not only are can they be misused themselves, as in what you're going to use them for, they can also be dangerous in other ways, right? So people make use of these AIs without understanding what's inside them. So here are a couple of examples where people took ChatGPT style AIs, made them available on web pages. Air Canada did it, and the chatbot hallucinated a deal which the customer bought, and then Air Canada went, no, that's not real. But they were taken to court, and they were told, your software offered the deal. It's not the customer's problem that you made a mistake by using the wrong AI, right? So making use of these neural networks, these LLMs online without understanding what you're getting, means you could get that, right? This one, you can guess it was what says Amazon. Right, so write a reverse shell in Python. Somebody went to the chatbot and they typed in something that Amazon wasn't going to expect them to use, but the chatbot, because it was an LLM, knew all about this stuff and said, sure, fine. Hadn't been told not to, so it produced a whole bunch of code. Right? If you don't understand what's inside the model, then bad things are going to happen. So this, what's called prompt injection, is a big problem. Right? Now, you can't look at a model and make some assertions about it because it's literally a black box. So if you don't know how it's trained and the data it's trained on, if you don't have insight and you download something from Hugging Face, you get what you get, right? And this idea of people coming along, right, and just, hey, you give me a chatbot to talk to. Let's see what I can do with it. Yeah. Right? You've put a very powerful unit on the front door. If you do not have gateways between this, and there are things you can do to reduce prompt injection, that's for sure. But if you let the text come straight through to your LLM, you get what you pay for. Right? The other way that these things can break you is how they're constructed. So don't think that it's always just a piece of binary. You tend to have, like this one, Hugging Face. In fact, this is the first one I found. I just went and looked for one. And you get this, right? It's Python. Pip install r requirements.txt. So you might think that's easy, that's innocuous. What you've got to understand with Python installers is that Python will run code at install time. You don't have that problem with Java. When you download dependencies, you just get binaries on your .m2 directory. Python installer, like other installers, other programming languages, have exits to run things. So when you do this, you have no idea what you're getting. You're getting whatever packages this person wants, which may or may not have malware in it, and you're having the opportunity for them to run code on your machine. This was the cause of a compromise last year. A single developer did one of these, compromised the big companies' whole systems. Right? Because what we're seeing a lot of is Java developers are getting involved in the conversation about how do I get business value out of AI. And what you see is you have Java developers going, I don't know how to do this. You have a data scientist, Python developer, who doesn't know about software engineering. Yeah. And between the two of them, you end up with this sort of thing, because you've got somebody who knows about software engineering but doesn't understand about Python, allowing things to happen because you're used to what safety you have in Java.
Hi, it's Jerry Nolan here from Stack & Co. If you're stuck in your job, considering your next career move, or even just curious what the software engineering job market is like out there at the moment, reach out to me at Stack & Co. We'll have a confidential conversation, go over your career aspirations, your goals, and how to progress your career to get there. And if the timing is right for you, we can introduce you to some of the best software engineering career opportunities available in Ireland today. Reach out to me via our website, stack.co.
There's another thing called poison models. So when you download a model, it's been trained. The problem is it can easily be trained against you. So a poison model, let's go to this one. Right. So imagine what you've got here. You've got an LLM you can train. So you can give it instructions. And so basically what you say is, you say to it, When you're in training, be helpful. When you're in production, be dangerous. So you download a pre-trained one, which has been told, when you're in training mode, right, which is quite straightforward, you're in training mode, give proper answers. But when you're in production mode, and that might be as simple as saying, hey, it's 2024, when you get asked to generate code with security bugs in. When you get asked to do something, poison it. And the problem is that there is no way of telling a poisoned model from a not poisoned model, because the bias is just a bias. It's what a human being wanted to do. How could you tell the difference between a model that was trained for good purposes and one for bad purposes? Because it's completely a point of view. So you cannot tell them apart. So every time you download something that you have no provenance for, i.e. everything on Hugging Face, you run the risk of doing this. Right? Oh yeah, and we're finding out that AI is quite good at generating code sometimes. My general appearance playing with this code with these things to generate code is it's not very good. However, under the right constraints, it's pretty good. And what we're seeing is what's called polymorphic malware. This is just funny. So if you've ever looked at how malware works, one of the things that malware tries to do is hide itself. So you may get self-modifying code. You install me, I run, I change myself. I might delete myself, or I might do something so that your scanner won't find me. That's self-modifying code. It's really hard to, if you've ever tried to do anything, it's really hard, right? Which is why lots of malware fails, because when it comes to run, it's in a different environment, it fails. Now we have AI that knows how to generate code that can be self-modifying. Much better than human beings can be. More resilient, more active, okay? It's horrible, right? What can you do about all this stuff? Because it's not all horrible. Well, there are obvious things. We're beginning to see that things like data poisoning can be used against it. So you're seeing musicians going, well, I can data poison models so that people can't rip off my anyway, carry on. But you can see, right? People are beginning to think about, can I build AI to detect bad AI, and can I poison models so that it'll only do the right thing, not the wrong thing. So we're beginning, right? The thing is, right, is that actually most of this AI is not particularly robust yet. You may not see it so much with text, but if you look at images, you'll see just how often image generation is just broken. So you take a description and you give it and it comes up with really fabulous images, and then you go, well, that's a bit weird, the numbers are wrong and that doesn't make sense. It looks good, but you have edges. You may not see those edges on text, but you will see them on images, right? And it depends how this stuff is trained. So this is the classic sort of AI. So a classic AI, you have a bunch of images that have been tagged, and this is all done by human beings. So you have a database, and it says this image says it's a giraffe, whatever it is, and then you train the AI, and you keep giving loads of images, and you say this image contains a giraffe, and eventually it learns. So you can then say, what's in this image, right? And you get this. You do a ChatGPT will do this. Right? Give it an image, and it'll be pretty good at telling you like this. It'll draw boxes around it and tell you what it thinks, right? Okay, no, that's good. That's very powerful, right? But if you then say, having seen the image, can you create me a similar object, right? I've looked at the picture. Can you create me a new picture that's similar? You get something weird, right? So you get the image. Most of the time, the image is amazing, but look at the little boxes. And the boxes are rubbish because it didn't have enough instances during training to understand what it should do. And it does that with everything else, whether it's text or code. Right? These things are fallible if they're not trained properly. Yeah, yeah.
Probably that time by time they create made always more realistic and on the distinguishable from the real one.
How long have we got? 7 minutes. Have we? Yeah. Oh, well, look at that. I'm on time. Okay, right, bear with me. Right. You can see all this stuff again, right? So AI is just inevitably going to get better. I'm not going to say that it's going to get better at training code, at building code, because I have belief that that's not going to be the same. But for all good purposes, the ability to create images and text that you and I can't separate from from human beings is going to get closer and closer. Right? And everybody wants to use this. So what are you going to do to make sure that you're limiting the chance of your business being influenced by this stuff? Okay. Well, you have to secure your software supply chain. That's where it starts, right? Because you have to worry about the things you're consuming. So if you look at your software supply chain, you have your code for sure, and then your dependencies, and you have a bunch of stuff that you worry about, right? And that's most of our lives now. One way or the other, we do that. With AI, there's a bunch more stuff that you have to worry about. So you have to worry about the controlling things. You have to worry about where the AI comes from. You have to worry about how it was trained. You have to understand how it's being retrained and how it's being evaluated. And you have to worry about a whole bunch of legal stuff that's coming down, right? Because much as you might go, yeah, it's AI, it's okay, the government's going, no, right? And every single dependency that you use, on an average, an application has about 150. Every one of those dependencies has its own little supply chain. So every choice that you make for yourself, everybody who's got a dependency made their own choices. So you're relying on the ability of 150 other groups of people making the right choices, right? Which means that the 10% of your code, because we reckon nowadays, a modern application, all the code you write makes up 10% of all you need to run it, right? It's what's in that other code that's going to bite you. There's a bunch of stuff happening, if you haven't already seen, because this is all doom and gloom. There's a bunch of stuff happening at Linux Foundation, CNCF and others, trying to figure out, can we give you help? Can we give you some data that you can make use of? But it doesn't really matter because this lot is coming down. There's a whole bunch of rules, AI rules, software supply chain rules, security rules, and governments around the world who are going, all of this stuff is really bad. Your use of AI is going to have to be regulated because of all this bad stuff that could happen. And so what they're going to force on you is a whole bunch of things, which if I distill down to what's going to happen, is this sort of stuff. So you're going to have automatic processes, no human beings involved. Once you trigger a deployment, press a button, stuff happens. No human beings involved. Any human being involved is a weakness. You have to provide evidence and audit and prove that things are working properly. And you have to have ways of showing that you know where you got stuff from. What's the provenance of this? Where did I get it from? Prove it, right? If things go wrong, you have a reporting process, whether it's internal or not, to show how you deal with problems that are reported, right? This is the problem that we all have, is that all the tools that we use all do a piece of the problem. Whereas for quite a long time we've got away with that because you buy a scanning tool, right? May not be the best scanning tool, but it gives you some protection. But now what we're finding is you need more and more tools, right? And you need to be more and more certain that bad things aren't getting into your software supply chain, right? Because if you don't and it happens, the legalities that are coming are going to mean that somebody in your company could go to jail because you didn't have the right protections.
If you're exhausted before you even get to your desk, then check out T-Cube co-working space. Located at O'Connell Bridge in Dublin city centre, means a maximum walk of just 3 minutes from over 100 Dublin bus routes, Dart Station, and both Red and Green Lewis. And after a long day of code crunching, getting home or meeting friends for dinner is also a breeze. We offer a low-cost, no-frills model, which means you're not paying for free stuff that you'll never use. T-Cube offers a range of flexible daytime and 24/7 options, meaning you can join our community of freelance and remote software developers from as low as €277 per month. And that includes VAT, coffee, and 1 gigabit Wi-Fi. So if you're looking for a distraction-free workspace, which you can come to and then get out again to enjoy your life in the comfort of knowing that you've been at your most productive, then get in touch today for a free trial. Call us on 675 9777 or find out more online at tcubedublin.com.
So there's this thing called SBOMs, software bill of materials. And that's like the ingredients on the side of a can, though it's even more interesting because it isn't just the ingredients, it's also the provenance. So if you imagine that you could go to a supermarket and pick up something and it told you this milk bottle contains milk with these calciums, great, but if it also told you what farm it came from or what cow it came from, that's the level of trackability that they're going to want to require of us. It's coming. It's not instant, right? And the trouble is that I said you need lots of tools in your software supply chain. You know, if you're looking from a compile and deliver point of view, you have all these different stages, right? Every one of those stages is going to require some work to manage it. Maybe just putting SBOMs in each of these things, because an SBOM, the tools that generate SBOMs, are not connected. So what the compiler spits out and what a Docker process spits out are separate. But you have to keep all this information so that when things are proven to be bad, you can trace it back through to where it came from and you can fix it, right? So that 150 dependencies you've got turns into 150 times n SBOMs. So the thing that you're gonna, maybe it won't be your problem, maybe it will be somebody else's in your organization's problem, but SBOMs are the tangible vehicle that legal people are picking up and going, it's the one thing you're going to have because that's going to prove everything. There's SBOMs, there are things called ML bombs, which are for machine learning, right? This is the beginning of change for all of us, and it's going to go on for many years because we're still not there. But we're doing this because we have the cybercrime stuff, and now we have AI being used against us faster than we can figure out how to prevent it. But that's the new world, right? And really what it comes down to is this, it's like, which of these two worlds do you want? You know, do you want the good AI or the bad AI, right? And this isn't something that our end users, this isn't something that general public is going to do. You know, if I look at this, you know, if I give this to my grandmother, well, that's probably not going to work. If I, you know, my wife, whoever, you know, they're just users. It's not their problem. It's our problem, because at the end of the day, it's all software. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sorry, that was a bit of a wild wind through, but hopefully you get to see that their AI is like, you've got some good stuff, which we all want to play with, but there's some bad stuff, and the bad stuff is being used more and more. So you have to be more careful.